Welcome to the On Stage podcast, where we interview musicians and members of the entertainment community.
It's a long-range podcast. So,
how many podcasts have you done so far?
You're number 3 of the month.
Nice.
So
love it.
For 2 months, I guess, August.
And I love the fact that in the back you got 10-4-10 there.
Oh yeah, this is our practice space back here, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's drum set, guitars, PA, and we put the merch on. We put the logo on every piece of merch we can.
Oh yeah,
that's the PA cabs.
One way to promote your band is by putting a logo on it. Yes.
Yep, the PA cabs get it, and heck, I'm even wearing my shirt tonight. So.
Yes, I see that. So, what is the name of those drums? That's an interesting set you got there.
Oh, it's just a Ludwig accent combo. Nothing super fancy. I picked it up from a Facebook Marketplace deal, and just a little bit above the step of the first drum kit I had. So plays a little bit better, sounds a little bit better, and I just have it set up to where I don't run the rack toms. I have my toms mounted off my cymbal stands, so it looks a little bit differently set up, but cleans up the stage presence a little bit, at least for me.
I love it. I really love the way it's set up there and how you have a nice little place to play your music. You don't have to worry about the neighbors or anybody yelling or your wives, whoever you're with, go, "Shut up, I'm trying to watch the next episode."
Pretty much, yeah. It's great, and very lucky to have this space. And yeah, you're right. I mean, we're kind of just off the side of downtown Casper, and so I mean, yeah, the only people we're irritating is ourselves. So,
well, everyone, as you see 10-4-10 and then 10-4-10. This is a 2-piece post-grunge rock band out of Casper, Wyoming. And they bonded over dirt bikes and motorcycles and old Chevy trucks, and they started rocking stages from there with his poetry and John's steady rhythms on drums. Now, I don't need to give everyone's biography myself, or we don't need them. John or Joy, which one do you think we should get to? Why don't we get one of you, to share with us, the audience, who you are, and go back to the beginning when you first decided, I'm going to join a band, I'm going to pick up music, I'm going to go.
Good. Chris, if we're going to go from the beginning of 10-4-10, I'll lead out.
Sure.
So 10-4-10 for me is October 4th, 2010. That's the day my daughter was born. And about early 2017, mid 2016, late, I started performing and playing solo music, and I had been writing poetry for quite a few years at that point. And then picked up a couple friends, a lead guitarist and a bass player, and my friend Colton coined the term 10-4-10 as I had become my daughter's mom had disappeared for a few years there. And so with my daughter, and so I was trying to reach out and send some good signals towards my daughter to get her attention and let her know that, her dad exists and he's real and he loves her. And so started 10-4-10 up, and then started the YouTube channel and got it out there. We'll finally get everyone found, and my daughter was able to listen to some of the old music and some of the different live performances and things like that. And 10-4-10 just comes out as a badass name. It rolls off the tongue, and so did that, and then through a few lineup changes and everything, then on joins John Salisbury here on lead drums, and I'll let him take it from there.
Yeah, I'd say musically, I started very, very young age. I had a cousin who used to live here in town, and he played the drums, and I got this really cool blue drum set one year for Christmas. And I remember, seeing it when it was brand new and being super jealous of it when I was like 6, 7 years old. And next year, I'm like, hey, mom and dad, let's provoke Santa Claus to bring me a drum set. So next year I get a drum set, and then I self-taught myself from there, and just from watching other drummers and musicians play, and never any formal lessons, like I said. And when school years, I ended up playing the trombone from grade school through high school, and kind of the drums took a seat on the back burner, and kind of got into them a little bit more in high school, and then started chasing careers, and everything just kind of went away, and I was just focused on one job in particular, and drum set got put in storage and never really thought twice of it. And then life happens and jobs change, and that's how I met Joey here. And he talked about his band. I heard of the band, got to see him play at least once live when it was the original lineup, or the lineup I knew. Never thought I'd be in it. Things happen, and he asked if I wanted to give it a shot to keep it going, and I said it's going to take a while to get back used to playing the drums, but we'll see how it goes. And it's been just a little over a year and a half now, and we're just going strong.
Yeah, and you already have an album called Kiss the Viper EP.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a 5-song studio recording, and we're super, super pleased with how that came out. We recorded with Snapback Records here in town. Traded them a small block cast iron Chevy and some cash for some recording, and 2 of the 3 music videos that we have out right now. And out of there popped the single Headphones On. It's been doing really great for us this year. We just broke 1,000 followers on Facebook, and we're getting regular attention on some of the other social platforms, TikTok, Insta. The music video, All Naturally, is climbing through the 800s. And so we're super, super, super pleased with that. And, we're just keep pushing it. We landed Sturgis Motorcycle Rally this year, and we're going to go down to Mesquite, Texas, and do the Extreme Flat Track Racers end-of-year bash. But the rainstorms hit so bad down there that they had to cancel for this year, so we're talking about next year already. Cave Creek Motorcycle Rally, Arizona, next April. And then this one's, what part of Canada are you again, Chris?
I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Toronto. So in Northwoods, Wisconsin, is the Northwoods Rock Rally. And we actually just got announced today we're in the finalist playlist to perform at their weekend party. It's just this, are you familiar with that event at all, Chris?
Congratulations. No, not at all. There's tons and tons of rock events out there. I can't keep track of them all.
Wisconsin's really hitting, man. And the Northwood Rock Rally is a very pivotal, huge moment. A lot of our favorites, Smile Please Soul, my childhood friends in Saul, and Glorious Sons, Royal Bliss, Edge and Embers, and Pop Evil, and a handful of other really, really badass names are going to be up there. Chris, what got you into music? What made all this happen?
Oh, thank you for that question, Joey. So what happened is that way back, I guess go back to the time when I started singing. I was 6 and 7 years old, and my brother and I were singing, I guess you would say, Jesus Christ Superstar and Funny Girl and Mary Poppins albums that us kids like to listen to. And we sang everything. We performed it. It was excellent. But I never said to myself, I want to be a musician when I grow up. I said, oh, I can sing. I love music. I love the Bee Gees. I love listening to my Sesame Street album. I can, sing the Sesame Street album back and forth, especially the Big Bird song.
Yeah.
But I never said I'm going to be a musician when I grow up. So what happened? I got into everything. I couldn't figure it out. It wasn't until, I guess, 2003, 2004 when I said I really wanted to pursue my music. And then what happened is that I met a girl, and she heard me singing, and she said, don't give up your day job. So I didn't sing for 10 years.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Did you marry her?
But the girl I met later was a flautist, and she loved my voice. So we did a lot of duets, and then I got together with some men vocal group from the church, and we were traveling, singing, and it was fun for a while. And then that relationship ended, and I didn't have a way of singing at all. And to make a long story short, I found a bunch of people who you could sing with online. And I started going into karaoke, and then COVID hit. And obviously you can't go out and perform. So what I did is I took a effective communications course, And I said, when are we going to do that? Because we need social distancing and everything. And it's almost like you're interviewing me. But anyway, I would say that
I like this. Is the commitment and drive there is
Yeah.
coming through? You know, you just
appreciate
never
that.
stopped. You never
So,
stopped. I
so
like it.
I appreciate you inviting me to your podcast. So to continue, the effective communication course, I'm like, when are we going to do that? Because when are we going to use that? Because we have to do 6 feet away, social distancing. And I said, I know. I'll start a podcast in October 11, 2021. And this October 2023, October 11th, will be my second year with almost 150 episodes.
Awesome.
And I never looked back. And then I just got right into music, and I started, having musicians and bands, and it's great.
That
And then
averages over an episode a week. So good job.
Well, actually, there was one month I did 9 episodes a month, and this month I think I'm doing 4 this week, and last week I did 5. So I'm going to reach episode 200 pretty quickly.
Awesome.
Good job.
How cool.
So then when you asked to be interviewed, I said, hey, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
What's his name? What does he do? There you go. 10-4-10.
Heck yeah.
Now,
So,
I like to go back to you, Joey. It's really nice that I was able to share. I want to ask you, when you mentioned about how your wife and your daughter disappeared, can you share a little bit about what happened there?
yeah, we were never married. But my daughter's mother, when she was 3, she disappeared for about 4 years. And so I was an alienated father, and it was miserable. Worst 4 years of my life. And that's a pretty financially expensive and spiritually dooming and mentally abusive time for any parent, male or female, have to go through. To meet someone, your own child, that you absolutely love unconditionally, and she's an awesome artist, and she's just super, super cool, and then just have that taken away from you. And you don't get to grieve, and like a passing of a child, you have to keep striving and pushing forward and living every moment, getting ready to have them back. And so for 4 years, I pinched pennies, hustled any dollar I could, made everything happen that I could, and found enough attorneys to be able to see my daughter again, and paid enough legal money to probably buy a Cadillac. And so at its most dooming point, when I thought it was all over and I was just done, I started playing guitar, and I started singing again. I hadn't done that for years, since I was a teenager. And started writing and put together some tracks, and was bringing up some old songs from the past. We actually still do one of the first songs I ever wrote called Scour, but everything else is fairly recent, relevant music. So yeah, that's what I started 10-4-10 for, was try to make a sound. I realized, the internet lives forever. Some of that shit never goes away, especially with servers like YouTube has and things like that, And so I started doing things like that, recording live, and I did some basement demos and some, living room EPs and things like that, and started playing shows. And I got minimal traction, some local attention, things like that here and there. And then it was just kind of like, I get back, I get a hold of my daughter, and we get summers and we get Christmas now, and we get to talk and chat. And, we send artwork together. The Gambler, she helped me design the Gambler over there, the skeleton characters. And then do all of our artwork. Here's a current concept, a hand with an eyeball in it for what you see, and then a hand with a heart in it for what you feel. And my good friend Jeremiah does those tattoo pieces for me. And then so that'll be a concept that starts coming up in 24 and 25. And but You know, the winters, I'm sure in Toronto, are pretty fierce too, and they're pretty aggressive in Wyoming. So I find myself sitting back and writing a lot. So I've released 2 books, 2 poetry books, Art with Words, and it features a hummingbird on the front cover, and that's a piece that connects my grandma and my daughter to each other. And then Art with Words deals with fight, like relationship fight, not like fist fight. It deals with fatherhood, sobriety in Wyoming. And I'm 7.5 years sober as well, so that's a huge, huge, huge accomplishment. And then, you know, from there, I wrote Writing in Thirds, and it's about life, love, and the completion of time. So some of that stuff gets kind of apocalyptic and sociological at certain points. And then I just recently, this last spring, released Act Accordingly, my first ever fiction publication. So it's a short story, a 5,000 word short story, and I'm very proud of that piece. It deals with, you know, as streaming services become more and more prevalent, movies are dumped out at record rates. You know, it's no longer like, yes, this movie's coming out in 4 months. I'm going to save up for some popcorn and a hot dog and 2 sodas, you know.
You're getting me hungry.
And I'm gonna go to the movie theater. I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna be entertained and just love it, you know. But now movies are pumped out, you know, for Netflix only, for I don't even know, Hulu only, whoever, you know. And so, you know, that in this book, it causes a return to the gesture era of entertainers, you know. So like our entertainers are no longer like Entertainment Weekly, like who's wearing this dress, who's wearing this suit, who's loving this person, and who's cheating on this person. Well, no, now entertainers are the low end of society. They're the drunkards, they're the gutter livers, they're the bottom floor of your apartment complex. And teachers, construction workers, doctors are held at the highest regards in this dystopian, well, utopian society, really. And it follows a day in the life of a couple of actors, and they're all available on Amazon. You can type in Joey Dietrich. You can go to our web store. We do a online merch booth through Bandcamp, so it's 10four10.bandcamp.com. And you know, so all the artwork drawn on there is done by a real live person that's just out here pushing, trying to make his thing happen. And the books are all written. My ex-wife, the original drummer for 10four10, edited both poetry books. You know, it's the real deal, man. It's just someone out here trying to guerrilla warfare, DIY, make this thing happen called art, you know, and just trying to get a good message across. I dabble in, you know, civil, you know, family orders. We stand up against, you know, civil abuse situations, domestic problems. We stand up for the children. We believe that, you know, children should have access to both parents, and both parents should have access to themselves enough to be fruitful for the children. And, you know, we believe in mental health and sobriety. You know, the plague of alcoholism and all the drugs and pharmaceutical or illegal drugs that are all over this world nowadays. You know, we try to work back against that, you know. So we like companies like this Liquid Death that we're both drinking. They're a water company that you know, talks out against, you know, trying to live a sober, thought-provoking lifestyle. So
beautiful story, my friend. How did that make you feel when your wife had taken your daughter? Did you ever think that you would ever get her back? It was probably, you were probably feeling this distress, and you were going through hell, thinking, what if I never find her again? Explain what that was like for you. Exactly.
Yeah. So I have some great friends at a church called Grace Bible Baptist here in Casper, Wyoming. Pastor Steve Adams, our lead music, Kevin, Kevin's son.
We have something in common there. That's great. Go ahead.
Yeah, good. I love it. And so they stepped up to the plate, left, right, and every which direction that someone could for a person that was in my situation. So yeah, when my daughter's mom took off, there was huge, oh, you know, just that dark cloud that people describe. Just, you know, you can never say die, but, you know, you almost feel defeated, you know, and you watch these people in society that'll choose, partying or lusting after people or drugs or alcohol over their own children. And they have full physical access to their children, and they'll do anything they can to replace their children with the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we kind of have one responsibility here on earth beyond, finding your own salvation, is to make sure the innocent are safe and the innocent are risen up and that they can have good role models, and I just never liked the idea that my daughter would never get to know my half of who she is.
Mm.
The fact that she would never have, me to come ask questions of, or to do the things that a father is supposed to do, defend her in situations, teach her how to defend herself when there's no one else around, teach her how to say no, teach her how to, always push forward, teach her how to be driven. So yeah, it was very devastating to me. I don't know how, she's still not old enough to give me the full explanation, but I don't know what it did to her for those 4 years. But that's a pivotal 4 years between 3 and 7. I can vaguely recall myself from that era, and I couldn't imagine not having one of my parents around during that time. So that's a pretty important moment in a human's life is that era. So
How would you like to have?
I hope it went well for her and that she can recover from it throughout her
Yeah.
life. I'd just like for her to enter adulthood not trying to recover from her childhood,
Well, yeah, definitely. That's quite an amazing story, but at the same time, it was touch and go there for a second. And now look at you. You got this band with John, 10-4-10. He plays the drums. You play everything. And God is blessing you with this.
all
Not
the
only
time.
did he give you a gift that gave your daughter back, and there was probably a lot of people that were praying at Grace Baptist and Pastor Adams, everyone that you knew, because the effective fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. So there's a blessing right there, my friend. Just trust in him and believe in him. And how about you, John? Tell me a little bit about your past and what happened, and why did you choose to get into music, and what were the circumstances where you and Joey met? Because I know Joey mentioned in the story that he met you, but how did that circumstance come to be?
So, growing up, I always wanted to be a firefighter, and so that's what I wanted to do. Go through all school, high school, went to college, have a degree in it. Started working for a smaller municipality here just outside of Casper, and worked there for several years. And I gave pretty much all my time in my early 20s to the organization, and then it's just a little like small town part-time volunteer department, and so put all my time, all my energy, all my effort into that, and it was good. Through all that, I started working part-time with an organization that works with and helps special needs kiddos and young adults, and did that for about 4 years, and I really enjoyed that job. And in the midst of all that, with the still wanting to pursue firefighting as a full-time career, I finally got that call from an organization here in Casper that's full-time to offer me a spot, and I was super excited, and I took it. And so that was going to be my end-all, be-all career done dream, finally landed it, and it only lasted a short time. And, there's bad eggs in every basket, and that's kind of the case that I got wrapped into. I was sought out against, and just wasn't treated right at all. And it just got to the point I hated going to work every single day, and which isn't what that career is supposed to be about. You're supposed to love that job, and so many departments make you feel home and welcome, and that's where my first department that I started on made me feel, was just that hominess, that welcomeness. And switching to a completely different department for that paycheck, and getting treated the way I got treated and told the things I was told, I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I just was like, all right, it's not worth my time. It's not worth my effort, not worth my energy. I'm just going to go back to my part-time volunteer spot in my other department where I'm happy, where I'm treated well, and go work full-time at a different job, a day job, I guess you could say, And so that's where I started working with all the special needs clients full time, and did that for right up until about a year. I was just hitting that point where the full time job I was working wasn't giving out insurance or anything, and it was like about to that time in my life where I'm getting kicked off my parents, so had to make decisions, and that decision led to a company called Western Sling, where
Sorry, Chris doesn't understand the insurance thing. They have free medical care.
but so it led to Western Sling, and that's where ultimately I met Joey, and him and I bonded, and finally after a couple months of being there, we were finally comfortable with enough with each other we could start making fun of each other on a regular basis. So that's where our friendship started to really grow out and blossom out, and we loved that job, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean,
I planned on retiring there.
Yep.
I did 10 years at that job, and then
Wow.
corporate buyout and COVID shutdowns provided new opportunities for us all.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's what
We
what
bought
happened to
dirt
me.
bikes and took off across Wyoming.
So
We social distance nicely.
I still do the firefighting part time. So with the same original department, great group of men and women. Love them all. They're my second family. So still do that, and then just career changes. Throughout the last couple of years, I'm selling HVAC parts as my daytime job now, and then Joey and I sparked this up, him and I together last April. Like I said, that's just kind of where we've been growing since. So
That definitely is a blessing from God. And now you got the name of your band. Joey's got his daughter back, he's writing poetry books, and you're just doing something that you love. And because you had faith in the Lord and what you were doing. And
And I'd like to point out prayers from grandmas have saved more lives than any doctor could ever hope to.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to know about your songwriting process, such as Skyrocket. How did that song come to be?
Excellent. Yeah. Skyrocket's been one that I've been doing for a little while, sitting around. Oh, gosh, I think that was a nice, cold, nasty winter day where there was nothing to do but sit inside the house. I have an old school home that's got hardwood floors all throughout, and it's half a century old, and it's got this nice big stone fireplace in it. So the sound in there is just wonderful. You can get a fire going and start playing on my guitar, and it just kind of started to write itself almost. I've been throwing the words around for a little while, some of the pieces in there, and then the guitar part kind of just started to drop into place. I was kind of discovering back then the C chord is probably one of my all-time favorite guitar chords. It's kind of my go-to fallback, like a for a bad public speaker. And so I go back to the C chord. Well, then I just slid it down into a D and dropped into an open E, and made this beautiful little connection with that. And then the chorus goes from an F to a G over to a different version of an open E with a kind of like a little accent point. And so guitar speaking wise, very simple, as a lot of my pieces usually are. They're just riffy, nice pieces, and then I tell poetry over top of it. And so Skyrocket, lyrically, from a lyrical standpoint, it starts off, and I love getting to hear other people's explanations of songs. And so what I did with my poetry books, I'm going to sidestep you, Chris, here right quick. With the poetry books, as you open it up, you'll notice a plain font, and that's the poem. And then when you flip that page over, on the backside is a handwritten font, and that's what I actually mean by the poem. So when you first read the poem, you get this unadulterated, unfiltered, just, what am I thinking? What am I reading here? What's here? You get your own visualizations, and then you flip the page and you're like, oh, this is what the guy meant? Oh my goodness. And I felt it was the only way I could come close to having a conversation with everyone who reads my books, buys my books, or rents it from a library. And so with Skyrocket, there was a moment in studio, and Chris with Snapback Records was describing, this big visualization, and we were emphasizing on visualizing as you sing so that it comes out more heartfelt when you record. And I do that on stage, but sometimes you just need this conversation. He's describing, Skyrocket. I imagine, there's this big space fantasy visual and this girl floating off in space. And I was like, whoa, that's so cool. That's so amazing. That's incredible. And I said, Skyrocket deals with addiction. And he's like, what? And everyone thinks it's this love song, this beautiful love song. And so I love to hear that. I love to hear other people tell me what these songs mean first before I pop their bubbles and tell them what it means, because everybody loves their own feeling and their own attachment to something. And so Skyrocket, small and fragile, loved by many. And this is just being around people that, had chemical addictions throughout their lives and listening to them describe what it's like, and, they all have this storyline and this feeling and they have this passion towards their addiction. And it's like, man, you could have a, real life outside of that, and you wouldn't live in this false world if you could get past that. If you could break through the chains of addiction, you could be out here in the world and suddenly wake up one day and blue is blue and green is green and, wood versus steel, and you would feel things. And so that's what Skyrocket really is that small and fragile, loved by many, but tonight you're mine. It says, you promised you wouldn't wait, but crime pays if you're gone. And for some people, the only chance they have at addiction is incarceration, and to get them away physically from sometimes incarceration makes people worse, but if they can get locked up and get a little rehab and get a system going that works better for them and find a new foundation to live on. And, I fear the fact that more Bibles are read in prisons than in schools, and so people find, there's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole. And so when pushed up against the wall, a lot of these people find their sobriety finally. And, that's what that is. And then, it dabbles into finding what you're missing in this world. The chorus, the miles turn into days, months from now, you're en route up to Skyrocket. And when you skyrocket past through, you break through the chains and you skyrocket past everything that was holding you back, and you start formally living your life, and you're now an adult human being on planet Earth existing as you. And you're no longer the trauma from your childhood. You're no longer, you take the influences that you took. I'm not saying that, but you're no longer your parents' child. You're no longer a member of this town you grew up in. You're now here, and you now exist. And you either face your fears, you either have your phobias, or you live. And you let nothing stop you. If you want to climb Mount Everest, go fucking climb Mount Everest. If you want to be in a rock and roll band, if you want to drive a car 180 miles an hour, you can do that. Man, this world, the only limitations of this world is what you put on yourself. If you're driven enough, if you're willing to accept that there's 24 hours a day and that time doesn't actually matter, then you can finally be set free and you can finally live. And time was only put in place for men to understand the difference between Monday and Tuesday. And once you no longer care about the difference between Monday and Tuesday, you can actually live, and that's why so many people long for the break in the career, the end of the Monday through Friday, the 9-to-5 lull, working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living, and it's been written about for forever, ever since the system was made, because it's not natural for humans. And so we figure we can be out here living for all those that aren't willing to make that one little step. And we'll be more than happy to come out here and live it, and try to bring as many people and as many theories and ideas with us. We put little Easter eggs in all the things we do. Some of our instruments are gifts from people. Some of our different things, we've had people step in and help make merchandise. We've had all sorts of, I had 2 guitars given to me as I was starting to rev up. Gosh, man, we build our own, we rewire, we reconfigure, we reconstruct, and we make our own merchandise, and we sit there and print them out on my dining room table, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. It's an eating table, and on the weekends it's a merchandise manufacturing station. So, that's just a simple analogy for what you can be in this world. You don't have to make your career who you are. You can still have your life. You can still be you. And I think that gets lost on a lot of people anymore. I fear it.
I understand that, Joey. We had an amazing, amazing lead singer of our Canadian band named Econoline Crush, name's Trevor Hurst. He said something very, very interesting. He said that, a lot of musicians, they kind of like, they don't treat themselves, they don't love themselves unconditionally. And when you're talking about addiction, many of them may get into like drug addiction, alcoholism, and then just like Chester Bennington, well, he had a mental illness, but just like him, they commit suicide. And suicide's not
But,
the answer.
was the
Now, why
mental
do you
illness not
suppose?
amplified?
Why do you suppose many musicians, as you said, with addiction, why do they commit suicide instead of just going to get some help?
I don't know, actually, oddly enough that you bring that up, I just ran into an old friend today. Oh, he's just a sweet, great-hearted person, and he's kept up with one of his ex-girlfriends for a lot of years. And she just, a couple months ago, drove herself to a hospital, and late at night, when nobody would catch her, hooked the hose up from her exhaust to her car and killed herself right there in the parking lot. And I don't know, man, Chris. I don't know why suicide plagues so many humans. I mean, everybody gets down, dude. Everybody has a bad fucking day, and I don't know. Everyone has this reason. Everyone that ends up doing that has this reason. They write a note. They write a letter. They give this explanation. They justify it somehow, and I just hate the fact that any human has to feel that way leading up to those moments. It's not even that they killed themselves, It's not. We don't know if a suicide victim goes to heaven or hell automatically. I mean, there's what you're taught. I was raised in the Catholic Church, so you off yourself to go to fucking hell, right? Well, so nothing says that's real until we're there that day, And but I do know for a fact that those moments leading up to where they made an active choice to physically create a situation that killed themselves. I mean, it's one thing to, kill in an act of war or in self-defense and how much that weighs on a human being. And that's studied, you know what I mean? Because those people live through that, so you can be conversated with by a therapist later and you can study that. Once somebody kills themselves, you don't get to study that anymore. So no one really knows. And I can't imagine how absolutely tragic and awful those moments leading up to that event are. And I would wish that no one would ever have to feel that in their entire life. Chris, why it happens is got to be a miswiring or something like that. It could be misleading the lifestyle or being stuck into a situation that you don't want to be in, but you got to have that always win attitude, and you can't ever let that bad side win. You're only given one life here on earth. There's no reason to waste it.
Yeah, just live one day at a time, my friend, because you never know when this is the day. And just take every moment, live by the moment. Don't think about tomorrow, because the Bible says tomorrow will worry about itself. God feeds the sparrows. The
Why would he
trees.
not feed you?
That's right, and clothe you as well.
And Chris, and that's kind of dabbling into what I mean when I say once you understand the lack of meaning behind time. If you spend your whole current time worried about a future time or a past time, then you never get this time. So at what point do you have to just let it all just flutter away and just let it go away and just live here, just be here? Our conversation, earlier today I was at work and I was at work while I was at work. Now I'm here, so I'm here while I'm here. And who knows, some maniac could blow up your building and you never have to worry about this life again. So why the hell would you kill yourself?
Yeah, I was watching.
There's so many people out there trying to end human lives. Why would you take one out? Why would you willingly choose to do that?
I was watching so many documentaries about 911 or 9/11, And those that actually survived and their stories and how going through their mind are thinking, I'm not going to get out of this. Some were stuck on the 85th floor. Some were stuck on the 88th floor with a plane struck underneath, and they got out. And one guy fell 12 stories, and they found them alone, like he was last survivor of apocalypse. And what happens to their lives after? They make it, it's more precious to them. So I think it's to tell you the truth, those that commit suicide, that suicide is not the way. Suicide is a cop out. And I think what you just said there, I think Trevor Hurst would love what you said there, and I hope that he ends up watching this podcast as well. I don't understand it, and I hear a lot of those with mental illnesses. It's like they have to commit suicide because something in their mind, like they say that this is what it feels like when someone has a mental illness, and what they show is this whirlpool, this animation of this whirlpool, and they say they're on the edge of the whirlpool, and they're trying to swim away. Like if you jump into rapids, the current is going backwards, and you trying to swim against the current is so strong, you're going to end up losing. That's what it's like. That's why they kill themselves.
But, physical life feels the same way. Like, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to have that mentally. But, physical life, if you over-focus on money, you're going to feel that same way. If you hyper-focus on your car and its deterioration, you're going to have that same feeling. If you hyper-focus on the amount of steps it takes to get up to your front door, then you're going to always think about that. Instead, if you think about being in your home and being, somewhere where you're happy, you're not going to notice the stairs. If you focus on, I don't know, it just depends on where you set your mind to. If you're driving a dirt bike down a trail and there's a horrible rut up ahead that's going to wipe you out, if you focus on that rut, 95% of the time you're going to hit that rut. If you focus on the path that gets you past it, you're going to zip right past it, and you're going to not even realize that it ever existed. And it'll be back there in your past, and, real dirt bikes don't have rear view mirrors.
Yeah, that's...
Or oil filters.
Just so many people going through so many things, and a lot of musicians, and doesn't matter whether you're a lawyer, doesn't matter whether you're part of 9/11, doesn't matter. At one point, it's going to be this overwhelming sense of dread, and it's like, if I escape this world, it's going to be better. And it's not going to be better. You know what's going to be better? For you to get help, for you to be here for family, let them carry you through, and
be
just
a great
live life.
Example and role model for the next person who has to feel that way. And the tragedy that I felt for my daughter, if I can get that across to one other parent, and they can feel their way through their shit show that they go through with their raising their children, then everything I went through is already done, first of all. So, it doesn't have to burden me anymore. It weighs on me, don't get me wrong. It's not just a light switch like, oh, it's gone. But it no longer is the burden that it was. That burden has been lifted. And so if what I did and my success and my triumph over the whole thing, if that can get through to even just one person, no matter how corrupted their mind or their heart or their soul is, how much they've shut off their connection with the Holy Spirit and their communication line to above, then if I can watch somebody reconnect that's just the best. And that's why my church is so great. They just love nothing more. They're just this nice, sweet little hometown church. They love nothing more than watching a good testimony in action. And so it's wonderful. It's great.
Totally agree to be around like-minded people and those that have the same faith as you. So we're talking about Skyrocket. People thought it was a love song. What are your thoughts about love songs? I was asking another musician this same question. If you were in love with let's say you were in love with your wife, and you had kids together, and you wrote a song about your unending love and what you do for her, and a really beautiful song, and that's the song is about. It's about her, and then suddenly she's no longer your wife. She divorces you. She hates you. Divorces you. Wants everything. Does that song really make sense anymore?
Damn, Chris. Gosh, I'm sure to many people that have heard it, it's going to still continue to matter. That was a heck of a question, Chris. Gosh, what comes to mind? This isn't really a direct answer, but it's not a wiggle out either. Gwen Stefani, when she was in No Doubt, she was dating their bass player, and I can't think of a couple of those ones, but love songs have been written. Then the separation happens, and she writes "Don't Speak," their biggest first huge hit. And "Don't Speak" is about him, and he has to sit there on stage and play that song with her while they become famous.
Yeah, Gwen Stefani, yeah.
Yeah, and so you'll carry on and you'll move on, but what happens to that song? What happens to love? Who gets the family Bible? That old song. I mean, that kind of dabbles onto what you're asking there too. And what does happen when love doesn't exist in where it once did? I've had a handful of relationships, Chris, and I mean, some of them. The unfortunate aspect of the English language is there is only one word for love. And you have all these variations of love. You have platonic love. You have love for your brethren. You have love for the Lord. You have love for a human being. You have love for your forever. You have love for your significant. You have love for your friends. You have love for physical items. I love my guitar. I love my motorcycle. Hey, I love this shirt, and things like that. Obviously, loving this shirt, it's a mass-produced item that I could make again, and I could have a second one. But love for God, there is only one. And so that's the same word, and look at how different those two are, And so, yes, do you still have a love? Do you still have a urge to protect and to care and concern yourselves with them? In order to hate, you have to have loved at one time. But I try to never allow my hate into my life or my heart. It definitely slows down your human process to hate. But you have to create a new guard, a new force field, a new shield, because something destroyed, usually a trust, is, the root cause of why our word love doesn't exist anymore, is usually because of breach of trust, a break, something like that usually is what happens. Or, you can just fall out of love. You can just realize that the honeymoon phase was over and the butterflies are gone and there's a whole new situation. Or sometimes people really do develop into different people. They start becoming different goals, different orientations, different respects for the world, different, ambitions. And then you can't love on that level anymore. So the song itself, fortunately, the only love songs I've written are for my daughter and my dog, so neither of them will ever bail on me. We do a cover of Belinda Carlisle's Heaven on Earth, though. And
I saw that.
Yeah, so we finished our sets with that, and that's a nice piece to leave out on because we do it a little heavier than she does and not quite as poppy. But it's funny, she wrote that song very similar in style to the way I write. I always have sang that song. It's always been stuck in the back of my head, and I just thought it was because it was in every grocery store that I've ever stepped foot into. But it turns out that she writes in a similar manner, just a different octave. And so it was a very easy song to take on, and we were able to make it our own, and it comes out great, and it's a wonderful song to end on because people that recognize it start singing along, and they've got this great happy mood. And then, they either end the whole event or they go into the next band in this great freaking mood. And so now you got me thinking, who did she really write that for? And does that person still exist? Is that person still around? Because then you've got, you know, Careless Whisper by George Michael. And then Seether reissues that in the 90s after the singer from Seether's brother committed suicide. So, I mean, talk about a whole different interpretation of that song. You know, the first version was about having feelings for a new lover or significant other and leaving someone in the past and then losing that forever. And then when Seether does the song, it's about never getting to see his little brother dance again and to never see his little brother live life again and to have to go through all the feelings and emotions that are left behind in the wake of a suicide. And so, gosh, man, that's an invoking question, and I like it. I like it a lot. I'd probably have to talk for hours and hours, and I don't know if your podcast goes for that long. What are your thoughts on it? Where you asked the question. That's an amazing question.
Well, it goes like this. I don't know if you are familiar with the contemporary gospel singer Wayne Watson. He wrote a song called Turning Into Dad, which is about the death of his own father. It happened on May 16, 2001, I think. And my father passed away May 29, 2002. So when I discovered that song, not only did I
turned
like
13
he died
that day.
May 29th, so I just had to take away the May 16th and put in May 29th. And that was the song about my dad. But the song by Imagine Dragons called Wrecked, we love that song. We love singing that song. But Dan Reynolds, the lead singer of Imagine Dragons, wrote that for his brother's wife, his sister-in-law, who died of cancer. So he wrote it just how he feels, how wrecked he feels. Days pass by, my eyes stay dry, and I think that I'm okay till I find myself in conversation fading away. I don't know if you're familiar with that song, but that's about his death of his sister-in-law. And unless you know the backstory on that, you just sing that song, without any. Yeah. And then when you hear the backstory of that song, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be singing that song, because that's his song. And I know that you want us to feel. You want us to feel a lot for your song Skyrocket. And whether we decide, oh, honey, the song Skyrocket by 10FOUR10 is our love song, and she'll go with it. But unless she knows the backstory of that song, said, I've never thought that, I never felt like committing suicide. What are you talking, Because unless you know the backstory, Elton John took the song Candle in the Wind, and when Princess Diana died, he put his own lyrics to it. I would do the same thing. I'd take that song. I'm no longer in love with that woman. I'm single now, divorced, whatever. And I would change that song. Every relationship, I would put different words to it and re-release it. Not only would I get extra money for that, but people would have 4 or 5 version songs, and people would be going nuts thinking, okay, it's a cover song. Which version do I use,
Yeah, you get to connect it to so many more people too, honestly.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, in writing lyrics and music and poem, you are directly coordinating money with emotion, thought, and feeling. They parallel when you start into this world. And that's one of the hardest parts of writing stories, third person or first person. They say writing words is autobiographical, and sometimes it is for me, but sometimes I'm in third person. And so you have to directly coordinate money to lives touched, and that's a hard concept for a true artist to be okay with, because all real artists would love the destruction of the money system, right? But we all live in capitalist current economy, money-based economies, and so most of us grasp it, relate to it, and are okay with it, right? But so to take those two, one beautiful thing and one graphically necessary thing, and make them the same is a tough part for the artist. And I hope that we can do that, because the more profit made means the more places we can go, the more people we can reach, and the more people we reach, the more people we touch. Maybe bring at least 1,000 people to make one person okay is worth it every time, And as we can continue to spread 10-4-10 and try to get that out there, hopefully make it better for people. I would love to write a love song, though. You branched off on fathers after the love song, and amidst it, are you familiar with Sturgill Simpson, country musician? So he's a contemporary country musician. He has a song called "Hero," and he writes about his father. Absolutely stunning, amazing song.
So did Tim McGraw. Remember, "Live Like You Were Dying" is about his father.
And if you wanted a good feel-good track for after our conversation, you could look up Sturgill Simpson "Hero," and I think it would lift you up just a little bit in your memories. My birthday is May 16th also. That was an odd little anomaly. And my preacher's brother was saved May 16th, 1993, which would have been my 5th birthday. That was also the day that we buried my dad's dad, my grandfather. And so that was a very deep, heartfelt moment for me. And I created a great attachment with what the Lord can really do amongst humans. You know, the timeline doesn't mean anything to God. He can move centuries at a time and connect things for millennia across people. And us little humans just sit here and live in amongst it. You know, and it's incredible. It's an absolute fascinating thing that the Lord can do.
Now, what about you, John? What is your thoughts on spirituality in songs? What's your take on, for instance, I know Skyrocket's not really a Christian song, but someone could take it, remove the lyrics, and put own Christian songs to it. Like I heard a song called "Stairway to Heaven," but what they did, the gospel singers did, is they put Christian lyrics to it. What's your feeling on that? Is that wrong to do?
I don't think it's wrong, and no, and music, it's all in how you interpret it personally. And so you hear it one way, and if you want to say like, oh, like, hey, let's put this twist on it, let's change this lyric up, and let's put it to how whatever demographic audience you're trying to reach, it might come across, the message might get pushed more if it's rewritten in that sort of fashion, I guess. And I know like songs have been kind of tweaked with and rewritten over the years, and I don't know. It's such a deep question. I don't have a great explanation for it. But it's a very deep question, and I think it's really just all in how you interpret it and the audience you're trying to reach, and as far as like spirituality and stuff, like you have so many people that agree with it and don't agree with it. It's I feel like as long as like you have a strong relationship with God, that's really what matters most. And yeah, so putting words to songs and rewriting songs and putting your spin on it, like, yeah, because and it might make you feel better than how the original song was. And it's like I'm a big Foo Fighter fan, and like Dave Grohl said in an interview one time, he said that you'll sing a
great drummer. And he was part of Nirvana too, which makes it even special.
Oh yeah, and he said, it's just something that he said that always sticks with me, is you'll sing a song to 50,000 people, and they'll sing it back to you for 50,000 different reasons. And that has always just stuck with me. And I experienced that with concerts I've gone to, and listening to, now that I'm more involved with music and I think about it more, I guess hypercritically would probably be the right word to use there. And I'm like paying attention to it more, focus on lyrics and everything. Like I've gone to shows where like I get emotional because I'm listening to the song. I'm not just there because, oh, I've heard this on the radio 500 times. Let's party. Like I'm there. Like I'm in the lyrics. I'm listening to. I'm feeling what that artist is putting out, and like I've teared up at shows before because like I feel the music. I feel what they're saying, and they might have like we just talked about, like Skyrocket. It's written about addiction, whereas you're thinking about it as a love song, and they have their reason that they sing it, and I have my reason that I react, and, have my response to the way I respond, and just to have that ability to communicate that. And I feel like music is a very healthy outlet for a lot of people, and no matter what the genre, and it's just a way to express yourself and let it out too. To go back to the suicide and stuff. Like I went through some dark times there for a while. I'd say for about a year and a half after, the career I was chasing my whole life. I made the choice to shut the door on it, and I went into a pretty deep dark spell. And really, funny enough, we were talking about Linkin Park and stuff. That's when I really discovered Linkin Park and some more hard rock, heavy metal stuff. And it actually, like, just listening to it and feeling the lyrics, like it can help and kind of pull you out of some of those slumps and just give you a different channel to push that energy. So you're not just sitting there and dwelling on it and stewing on it. Because that's what I'd find myself doing. You talk about the whirlpool. I would sit there, and sometimes to this day I still do, and that's why I seek help every couple of weeks. I go see a counselor to talk about things and to fight through things. And you sit there and you catch yourself, and you are just in this cycle, this repetitive thought of, what if I would have done this? What if I had said this? What happened if I went back and changed this? And I get that there's no escape. And for me, this instance happened like 5 years ago now, and to this day, I still catch myself in that cycle. So listening to music and different types of music and just my own personal interpretation of it, that's what also helps bring me up out of those slumps and out of those spirals. And again, too, seeking help, getting help. I mean, I know sometimes it's expensive, and sometimes in some places it might be hard to get access to it, but reach out to a friend, a family member, your local church if you can.
Funerals are expensive too.
Yeah. So anybody that's willing to listen or to be there for you, to lend an ear, talking about it helps, and someone from a third person perspective can help you get through it. So yeah, as far as music interpretation and stuff, like it's all in your own mind, and it can really help pull you through. I think music is such a powerful tool, and try to always use it to better someone else and make somebody else, feel good. Like Joey said, might play to 1,000 people, but if you reached one person that night, you did your job.
I agree with you, John, and I see a really great spiritual connection you have with Joel, and I see how you work together and produce these amazing songs. You were talking about Linkin Park, my favorite. Now, I liked Linkin Park even when Chester was around, but I really didn't like David Bowie's music until he passed away. So it's kind of weird how, that those two things are different. But going back to Linkin Park, what do you think? Like, my favorite song is Waiting for the End. What do you think Waiting for the End is about? And my next favorite song is Breaking the Habit. What do you think they're about?
Ooh, Waiting for the End. I'm honestly, I'm sure I've heard it, but I'm not familiar with that one. But Breaking the Habit, listening to that one, and I think about that when I'm listening to it. I'm like, what habit is he breaking? Is he breaking a drug addiction, an alcohol addiction? Is he trying to leave a bad relationship? Like, and again, we'll never know because it's inside the artist's mind of what it was truly about. But it could have been 1,000 different things. Of I'm leaving a bad job. I'm leaving. I'm cutting off my family from a toxic relationship. It's hard to say. And he's like, what does it go? It's like, I don't know what I'm fighting for. I can't remember how the rest of that lyric hits, but it's like you hit a certain point where you're just done. And I've been to those points with past relationships, with jobs. You can only take so much until you're just done. And maybe that's what he's referencing. You're breaking that habit. You're done. So it's kind of how I would imagine it goes, at least in my own thought process.
Well, we need to break a lot of addictions and break lots of habits. And those who are in drugs, those who uh, alcoholics addicted to meth. They all need to get
Sexual
help.
addiction,
Sexual addiction. So I was addicted to
violent
coffee.
addiction.
How come I didn't go out and get help? What's the difference between that
I
addiction
love
and
coffee, Chris. Hold up. No, no, no.
so we gotta get some help there, Joel. We need help.
Oh
Break
man,
this
no, not my
addiction.
coffee. The coffee pot at your local AA location has saved more lives than your mom's best friend's kid who grew up to be a doctor.
That's true.
So no, yeah, and people talk about coffee as they age and how it hurts the heart, this, that, and the other, and I think they're just drinking the wrong brand.
Hey, Joel, I got a question for you.
What's up, man?
Do you guys both know the Barbie song "What Was I Made For" that was sung by Billie Eilish?
Is it from that new movie? Is that
Yeah,
what's going
it's
on
from a
here?
new movie. It's
Oh.
beautiful
okay.
song. I love
Okay.
the song. Listen to it.
And actually, Billie Eilish, for as much crap as she gets in the media, her and her brother are very talented people. Sitting there watching them do some acoustic versions of songs, I was actually super impressed.
I know I don't really want to tell people what this song is about, but you have to listen to the song, and then you have to go on YouTube and search for Billie Eilish documentary on how she wrote the song, and it tells you right there what the song is about. I don't want to tell you because I want.
I've seen a couple of past things that her and her brother did like that, and it's fascinating.
Yeah.
They're so talented, intelligent little people. They're great.
Yeah, I love it. So I'd like to ask you about your. I think I lost the. Oh, now it's slow. Must be the internet or something. But there's another song you have them on there. I thought it said actually Nirvana, but it said Nellavana. What's that one about?
Marivana is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, what's that one about?
So I grew up loving, man, 7th grade. My good friend Blake, his older brother, he has a brother, or had a brother, rest in peace, Caleb, had a brother that was quite a few years older than us, and he introduced Blake and I to Nirvana, the greatest rock and roll band of the 90s. And so I was hooked instantly. Blake moved on to Prague, Tool, Alice in Chains, A Perfect Circle. Him and his brother Zach now front the touring band called Saul. They're a heavy metal band that's huge right now. Congrats, boys. They're on a major tour right now. And so for me, Nirvana has a very special heart, and music in general. So it was like a quick version of saying music. A cool way to say music was Nirvana. And what music did for me in my life and creating my earthly life, making it comfortable, making it fun and enjoyable. And then so I made a buzzword off the word marijuana and Nirvana, and made up this whole word. And so in the chorus, there's a line: "Weed and rock and roll got me through. Now silence on the speakers and you." So the fact that nothing's as cool as Nirvana was to me, you know what I mean? Like, and you run into that with everybody. Everybody's got that band that's just like the peak cool. A lot of people, it's Metallica or Led Zeppelin or these old school bands, Slayer and things like that. And for me, it's Nirvana, and so that was just the peak of music and for me. And so it just talks about there's a splash of love song in Marivana. That line, "Now silence on the speakers and you." So Kurt's dead. Nirvana's never coming back. You have to accept that. And then the "and you," that's a shout out to my girlfriend, that she brings me peace now. She brings me solace. The second verse, there's a line, "Gas tank girlfriend." She loves to ride on the front of my dirt bike on the gas tank. And so that was some of our first dates, was her riding on the front of my dirt bike. And so it's just a super cute little shout out to her that she gets every time. And I don't know if a lot of people understand those lines ever, so those are shout outs to her. And so there's little love songs dabbled into some of my music. Headphones On's almost a love song. And so that Marivana, I love that song. John and I, majority of the songs, there's songs from the Outliers home demo EP, and then most of the songs we do are songs that were already written. John did his own drum parts too, but they already existed. Marivana is the first song that John and I, start to finish, wrote. So it is for a lot of, I love every song on that EP. Moving On, very special piece. Misheard, Skyrocket, and Headphones On. But Marivana is super cool because it is the first song that John and I wrote, start to finish, all the way through. I even broke down and wrote a real solo in it. And we were playing Headphones On, and it gets to the part where the solo is, and I turned around, I was like, drum solo. And this was like one of John's like 5th practices with me, and he just starts firing out like he's supposed to, dude. And so that made me super happy, and that's when I was like, all right, this guy's going to be an awesome drummer. But
Yeah,
I'm so glad you asked about Marivana. It's one of my favorites, and it's the hardest actually song. Live. People love Marivana live because it's just so up and going and rock and roll, you know.
Well, I noticed that you got 5 songs on the album, and the first song is Headphones On, and the last song is Marivana. So when you go play live, do you have a set list? Like, what's your opener?
Our opener is not on the EP. It's actually called Soapbox, and it's just a nice, fast-paced, heavy-hitting, simplistic song, get people's blood kind of moving and warmed up. And it talks about, you know, people that think that they're the spokesman for their generation or their people, and they're just some loudmouth in the corner up on their soapbox giving it their all. And there's lines about how nice that must feel, and how I don't even taste the same way you taste, and we don't even feel the same way you feel. Punk rock song, you know, if you will. And then not like anyone knows what punk rock means anymore. Side note, we sound checked to an old Iggy Pop song, you know. And then the second track, we transition over into Headphones On, because most shows we play, people have heard Headphones On. They've caught the music video. They're liking it. So get them on our side, bring them on board. Then we smack them with Marivana, and we just rev it up. Just boom, bring it up. Drop Misheard on them. Very fast-paced, very fun song. Real dance beat to the drums. And then we drop them down with Skyrocket and really get intimate with them. And all the while, in between each song, we have ambient transition tracks that John controls with the iPad. So he'll hit play on those on the in-between time. So we've got this transition thing happening between each song. And then we bring them back up with the pop rock song, Moving On, and it usually gets everybody's kind of blood flowing again. And then we drop the old school Outliers tracks that are just grungy, gritty, dirty songs, Scour, Daily Bread, Outliers, Floating, very heavy song, Floating. And then, you know, by then I'm telling them, I'm counting down the songs, how many they got left to have a good time before 10-4-10's getting off the stage. And then we end with Heaven and do a nice big shout out to the venue, the city that we're in, and just give our thanks to the crowd and give them a nice little I love you out. And then we make a shitload of noise and get the heck off the stage. Because we're pretty wore out by then. We put a lot into our live set. We're sweating by song 3. Both of us keep rags in our back pockets, and we'll be wiping off, trying to see the crowd still, whipping
Rock on.
sweat out of your eyes, and getting after it. You know, for only 2 of us, there's a lot going on that stage, and I try to cover every last piece. If there's some piece of equipment out in front of the stage, I try to make it out there for a solo. Like if there's a big speaker up there or some sort of weird stage point or something neat to climb up on, I'll jump off my guitar amp, have a good time. I tried to jump into his drum set, but John gets all mad and says, "Those are expensive. Don't break that."
The hardware's hard to replace.
But we try to have a good time.
Where does the music from Outliers fit in? Like, for instance, Glass Bottle Sognet sounds like a bottle of red, bottle of white, Billy Joel song.
Oh, I love The Stranger. Actually, that's an awesome album. Good job.
Yeah.
Glass Bottle Sonnet is a very sarcastic song about finding salvation with liquor and alcohol. And so writing a sonnet is like a love poem from Shakespeare era. It's an archaic term. And so Glass Bottle Sonnet is a very punk rock sounding song with like a mockery of what alcohol is. And, you know, there's a lot of Christian lyric in there too. And it talks about being created in the Lord's image. And why would you be drunk every day if you were created in the Lord's image, you know? And so you need to meet him halfway with what he's given you. What he's created is not supposed to be drunk every day. It's fine if you can drink 1 or 2 beers and be cool with that, that's fine. But those of us that have the miswiring that, you know, 1's not enough, 6 is almost there, and 12, damn it, we just messed something up. You know, those people, we can't drink. We just can't. It's just not in our wiring. It's not in our programming. Some people can't climb Mount Everest. Some people can't ride their bicycle 10 miles. Some people will never own a nice car. Some people will never build an engine. You know, it's fine once you accept that you're just not supposed to drink alcohol, no matter how cool it's made to be and how it's sold on every freaking corner. And some states in America even sell it in the convenience stores. Wyoming sells it through drive-thrus at the liquor stores. I mean, hell yeah. And so Glass Bottle Sonnet, that's exactly what that's about. It's just overcoming what's fed to you from this world and understanding that you are better than you could ever imagine you could be.
Well, is Daily Bread about our Lord Jesus? I certainly hope she is. And is she the actual cover version of the one that Elvis Costello sings?
No, she's its all own track.
Okay.
It's
But
just
what
the
about
name
Daily
she-
Bread? What's that one about?
Daily Bread, very, very, very autobiographical. Daily Bread is truly autobiographical. No hiding things there. Daily Bread is, so I grew up in Midwestern America where almost every house or every 2 houses has that painting of the old man praying before his bread.
Powerful.
Without the poem here, it's this painting where this old fella is praying over his bread. That painting. So I just found it at a garage sale and brought it home, and I was sitting there staring at it, and I have my guitar, and I was like, this reminds me of my childhood. This reminds me of my family. This reminds me of my life. I need to write a song about them. And so being raised in the plains, growing up in the mountains, I moved to Wyoming when I was 18 years old. So I really grew up here, but I was raised there. And so, yeah, Daily Bread is a shout out, thank you, I love you letter to all the people that were there and present from May 16th, 1988 to right this second. And I love that song. Oh, yes, I love it. Live, we add to the solo a lot, and we do this nice, cool breakdown, and we add a bunch of stuff to it and make it a whole much longer song. She is a compilation song of different writings. I wrote it one late night, and we actually don't play She anymore, or Glass Bottle Sonnet for that matter. I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't play it in your church anyway.
Then my church would love me.
Especially marijuana people saying, you're singing a song about marijuana in a church? What?
Oh, shoot. Eric Clapton sang about cocaine in the 70s. I'm sure by 2023 we can do something. And and so Daily Bread, yeah, wonderful, awesome. Floating is about, and I'll try not to go too far. You should never discuss politics on the first time meeting someone. But Floating is about the culture of politics, and obviously you're not in America, but I'm sure you hear all the riffraff and runoff of our mayhem that we have every day. So we have the big 2-party system, Democrats, Republicans, red, blue, Democrats, donkeys, or donkeys and elephants, whichever. I don't even know which one's which. But when I say political, I mean more like the economical structure that they have set up, the class war, the rich out here begging for money for Hawaii after it burned down, when literally she could sell one frickin' mansion and buy the whole island, and or shut down one slave labor shoe shop in China and save the world. And but they're out here begging us for money, people that live paycheck to paycheck, that can't afford to go get a cough looked at by a doctor, because it's like, well, I'll just take some ibuprofen and eat a ramen noodle and hopefully it'll kick out. And so, here in America, we vote for people that are supposed to represent America, and they don't even know what ramen noodle tastes like. They've never eaten corned beef hash out of a can. They've never eaten cold raviolis just to put something in your stomach. And we're out here voting for them like they matter to us, or like we matter to them. And so floating, that's what floating is about. Floating is about, they say they're floating with us, but they don't die like us, all alone, all alone, all alone, you know. And then the opening verse is about my child being born, and I sat in a hospital alone while my daughter was being born. No one was there except for her mom and her mom's family, and I had no one there with me. I was just alone, and my daughter was just being born, and here I am supposed to be a father, and I'm alone. And so that's what the opening verse to Floating is. And then the second verse is about, you know, drugs and new surroundings, some from doctors, some from the war. And that's about the bombardment of advertisement. I don't know what it's like in Canada, but here in America, they can advertise pharmaceuticals on TV. We're bombarded with drugs daily. And if it comes with a doctor's little name, some guy that went to college by a college system that was designed for him to create a medical situation, and he's got stock exchanges to worry about. And if he signs that little piece of paper, you can have the drug. And people think that that's okay. And these people are dying off this stuff every day. The opioid crisis in America is astronomical. If you look into my solo piece that's available online on our merch store as well, it's called Highway Rides. Listen to the intro part there. I rattle off statistics of what the opioid crisis has done to us, and military suicides and things like that. And so that's what the second verse of Floating is. And then the third Floating is, where are we supposed to be by now? You know, you look at Fight Club when Brad Pitt's explaining to him, you know, supposed to go get a job, supposed to buy a house, buy a car, get a wife, live through your life, and then die before your retirement cash runs out. And that's the third verse of Floating. And then it comes back with a hard-hitting chorus, and it runs you out to the ending. It starts with a chorus, and it ends with a chorus. Atypical, strong structure, but I was trying to get a point across, and it's one of the angrier songs that I've ever written. I was very, very upset at that.
Yep. So if a musician called you and said, "Hey, 1010, hey, how's it going, Joey? Oh, hey, John. Yeah, good thing you're there. I want to say that fill in the blanks wants to tag along with you on your tour." Who would that be?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Well, I mean, in the hierarchy of rock and roll and artistic world, you know, tag along with us or we tag along with them? Because that means two different things to me. If they're tagging along with you, if they're tagging along with me, then, you know, it's I don't know, from another musician.
Your favorite musician that you would love to jam with, who would that be?
Oh, that we would like to jam with. Okay. Actually, I got to open up for my favorite musician, Vendetta Red, is a rock and roll band based out of Seattle, Washington. And we were doing sound check, and I got to open up their guitar riff to Saturday, their big hit single from MTV days. And it was the best. The singer started screaming at me. The drummer dropped all volumes out of the mixer and stuff. It was a great time. And we got to sit around and shoot the breeze for a little bit. And it was great. It was so cool. So I got to open for them. I got to share a stage with them. I would love to play with Smile Empty Soul. They're a huge influence to me. Social Distortion, Mike Ness, that'd be so great to play with. They're still touring out there.
Wow.
I would love to do a festival with my childhood friend Saul. That would be such a great honor to do. As they climb through the ranks, I'd love to pop back up and catch up with them. We love some of the bands we get to play with. The Boss's Daughter, the Rage Tones, both awesome, fun bands to play with. And I don't know, what would be your thoughts? What would be the scariest drummer to share a bill with?
Dave Grohl.
Every single one of them. Yeah, Dave Grohl.
Yeah, could you imagine? Yeah,
oh man,
being his drummer.
I had a hard enough time when we played up in Rapid City. So earlier, when I said my cousin was a big influence to me, he was the drummer in a pretty big metal band here in town.
Beachwood.
Very well-rounded musician. And because I think he plays drums, guitar, like he plays a lot.
Very intelligent man.
When we were playing up in Rapid, he was able to come catch one of our shows, in Rapid City. And so the whole time, like I'm drumming and I'm playing, and he's just right here over my shoulder the whole time. And
He's a shadowy figure in the background of the Marivana chorus music video.
He is, and he's just standing there. And the whole time, I'm just like, "Don't mess up, don't mess up." He's watching you. Don't mess up. And and every time I get that on Headspace, you mess up way more than you ever would have if you just would have just let it flow and let it go. But so that to me was super intimidating. But Joey talking about his inspirational bands. I come from listening to a lot of like the 80s, metal, hair metal, big band stuff like that. So, if you ever got the chance to share a bill with one of those bands, man, I'd be a mess. Like I'm already a mess as it is most of the time anyway. So to put somebody who that is their job and that's what they do, like it just, I'd be sitting there shaking the whole time. But it'd be one of those cool highlight moves. Joey and I here, I think it's been 2 years now. Went to a Hailstorm concert. I don't know if you're familiar with Hailstorm or not, but they were.
I think I have HAEL Storm, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
They were on tour with the Stone Temple Pilots, and it was kind of cool because Hailstorm was headlining, and they're like, Lizzie Hale was like, if you told me, 15 years ago that I would have been sharing the same stage as the Stone Temple Pilots, I would have told you to get lost, but here you are. So you never know where this could take you. So but to pick one band, I don't know if I even could, because there's so many out there that I would love to share a bill with and to get out there with.
If someone or an up-and-coming musician went up to you and said, John, Joey, I really love your band. How do we go about doing that? What would your advice be?
Go about doing a band?
Yeah,
like
about
performing,
getting into music. Yeah.
Fail at everything else.
Yeah. I'd say a lot of it, it's just determination. Pick an instrument you love, you've always paid attention to, and that's something I kicked myself for. Was from a young age, I was always drawn to the drums, and then growing up, I had to be just like my older sister, so I played the trombone like she did, and I never pursued percussion. And hindsight's always 20/20, but I think about how much farther ahead of as a musician I could be if I would have just taken that step 20 years ago. But as far as like trying to start a band and stuff, find some good buddies and or like-minded individuals, creative individuals that you're willing to learn together, grow together. You're going to go through good times, you're going to go through hard times, and you just got to be resilient too. And it's something we struggle with. You reach out to venues, you reach out to places you want to play, and you either you get no response, or you get told no, or not at this time, we're not looking for anything. You can't just shut it down there. You gotta have your backup plan. Okay, what's next? What's nearby? What's our next goal? And then to a couple, trying to get shows, you gotta stay fresh, you gotta practice. And something Joey and I do, we're really good about, like he said, trying and failing. We try this route, it didn't work out, or we try this, it doesn't work out. Let's restructure, reconfigure, and building our set. And when we try to, like, for us, we're such a small band that we have to sound so full. So we got to put a lot of energy, a lot of effort into it, and to build that stage presence. And that's part of our show is not only just our music, our original music. It's you got to put on a performance too. So
maximum effort.
You got to find that person that is there, willing to wants to have that same vision as you, or to if you're starting to dream too big right out of the gate, to reel you back in and be like, no, let's do this first. And so that's the biggest thing, is finding someone who's either like-minded or is able to like either bring you up or bring you back down, depending on like what kind of mindset you have towards everything. But the biggest thing is just practice and persistence. Someone says no, go on to the next one. You get 9 no's before you get 1 yes. So a lot, I guess in a roundabout way, just don't get discouraged, and just keep practicing, keep building, just keep getting your name out there, and just doing. And if you love doing it, you know, you never know what it's going to fold into. You know, we started this last year. It just even on our Facebook page, we only had what, like 400 followers maybe,
Yep.
and now we're over 1,000. And
Wow.
because we're just pushing, we're pushing our product, we're pushing ourselves, and every week we're down here, we're just trying to better ourselves and better our performance,
Mhm.
and that just helps when we're out playing, because it's a whole different feeling. Like, I mean, we've played to empty rooms before where it's, you know, it's just your family and friends sitting there. Sometimes it's even just the sound guy and the bartender sitting there. And when people show up and you start having real crowd interactions and they really like what you're doing, it puts this whole different feeling behind what you're doing. And then you start to feel like, oh man, I do have this purpose. I am making a difference. And it just, and that gives you that extra little confidence boost to take it back to the practice space, be like, all right, we did good now. What can we do to be better the next time? And that's something we do a really good job with each other, is we say, okay, this worked great. Let's keep doing it. Or, you know, let's add more. Let's see if we can do this. And if it's feasible to add this and that, and like transition tracks, that's a big thing. And we're still trying to perfect that and hone that in, because you go to a lot of local shows and a lot of just these local artists, you have awkward, you know, talking banter between songs, or they're telling stories, and, you know, small time bands, like, no one knows who you are, no one cares, you lose people check out. And so if we can just like, you do a little bit of talking, but if we can have some sort of noise or piece going on behind us, it keeps that listener engaged to be like, all right, what's coming next? What is this thing building up to?
We're trying to create an environment, a stage presence, and a performance. You know, we're not.
I love that.
We're not up there trying to force anything down your throat. We're trying to make you feel good. We're trying to make you forget that you just got off the clock. You know, we're trying to help you forget about your finances for a few moments. We're trying to help you keep moving, you know, moving on, moving forward. And, you know, there's a line in there: clouds around us of all colors, density to match your clarity, feel like wheels in spun mud. And it's just like, you know, some days that's your vibe. And when you can go to a real rock and roll show, you can feel a real item and interaction and moment, that's when it is. And those people that were meant to be there with you, they'll come up to you and find you, or they'll come find you the next time you come through that town. You know, on the weekend I released Writing in Thirds, the second poetry book. You know, we go and perform this badass show up in Rapid City. Shout out to Brian Iverson. And, you know, we had this great time. And after the show, this gal comes up and she's like, man, I need that book. I'm like, awesome, cool, here you go. Sign it for her, and she pays me. And she's like, I don't want to sound weird, but your last book, I took it to this book club I go to and showed it to everyone, and then we all bought your book, and then we sat around and discussed it. I was like, that's
Wow.
the coolest thing you could have ever done.
Yeah.
That's not weird to say. I said, I love it. I said, you got any
Mhm.
questions? And she just like got so excited, she just like fluttered away. It was such an awesome feeling, you know. And I've met some of my favorite people after shows, you know, whether I was in the crowd or on the stage. You know, my good friend from the Gaffer Project, you know, Christian, the old drummer, he's just one of the greatest people ever, you know. And it was such a wonderful interaction to meet him. And, you know, I don't know, we're just there so people can, you know, we're kind of a scapegoat for your day. You can sit there and you can just let loose on us. You know, you can come dance, you can mosh pit, you can circle pit.
Wow.
And you could, you know, sometimes I'll get down into the crowd, turn my back away, and dance with them, you know. And it's a great feeling. If you know the lyrics, you can come up and get down, you know. And if that's your moment right there, and that's a pretty healthy way to release some bad tension, you know, at a rock and roll concert. And that's what's important to us, is that people get all of that out, get all of that off their chest, and they're just like, yes. Then they can go to sleep that night, they can feel good, they can buzz and vibrate, and then the next day they can get up and do their life again, because their life has this purpose within it, you know. So that next moment that they have to be ready and available for, if we gave them that great reset and that release, you know, then they can be all the more effective the next time they have to be. And unfortunately, that means we have to be on our game 24/7, and we have to be out there pushing and hustling as hard as we can. And so, every band pushes like, "Oh, buy my merch," and it's like, well, we are out here every day just grinding, getting after it, and venues want to fight you for a penny. And it's like, dude, you just made thousands in drink sales and ticket sales, come out it. And then they make us work for it again. And it's like, we already did our part, and so it's just crazy and mayhem, and it's wonderful. And it's a hot mess every day. You watch the movie Almost Famous and the movie Get 'Em to the Greek, and you kind of find a halfway point between the two movies, and that's rock and roll.
I really appreciate the amount of time we spent on this interview. I didn't mind at all. It's such a great interview.
Thank you.
Joey, let's talk about show. How do we get your poetry book?
Poetry book. You can go on 10four10.bandcamp.com.
Okay.
And you can go to the merch tab there. You can check out our music on Bandcamp. Bandcamp is awesome. You can go through a browser, or you can download the app. It's 100% free to the artist. It's a very minimal exchange that they take on each purchase. They are worth every penny to an indie band or a DIY band or a startup act. They are awesome. And so if you can go on there, find us either through the browser or the app. And so it's little commitment or a lot of commitment, depending on what you want. And you can check out our music. You can buy the books. You can check out our different shirt designs. There's an extensive merchandise catalog, I should say, because there's a coffee
I'm going to do that. I want to get a shirt. I want to get all this stuff.
Thank you. And then, so that's super, super cool that they provide that for us, and no overhead. You just get it on the back end, and that's awesome. You can stream our music through any major streaming service. Our YouTube channel, 10four10. You can check out the music videos and a little bit of live footage. And there was no path, everyone, so I made it.
Okay, this is 10four10. We're going to end the stream. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And
very Bye, Chris, and all of Chris's fans. Thanks for coming out today.
Yes, thank
really
you.
Appreciate it. And everything will be linked down below. And just wait 1 second there. I'm just going to end this, and then I want to talk to you. Okay, everyone. Thank you.
$50 short our lives to acclimate. whatever the hell it is you're looking for. But someday you're going to have to find yourself. I just can't wait for you to do it anymore.